Hey guys, I have spent a lot of time over the last few days playing the first Descendant. I've made videos, I've made guides, felt around a lot of the endgame, played around with a lot of different characters. This video is basically, here are the 5 things that I think could be changed in this game that would make it like immediately better, and the changes themselves are like relatively kind of trivial to introduce and would probably save a lot of heartache, a lot of hassle, a lot of bother for people. And yeah, the developers already shown that they're really kind of switched on when it comes to changes. I'm sure they've got a few of these in the pipeline anyway, but just from my perspective, I just want to get out there, like, these are the immediate things that I want fixed. So starting off, let's look at Sharon resets. Now, the problem with Sharon and reactor farming is that a lot of it isn't actually gameplay. I like playing games. I don't like bringing up a map, clicking on an area, waiting 10 seconds for it to load, opening up my map again to see if a timer is 0 or not, and then potentially going to another area. I am completely fine with the reactor mechanic as it is right now. Totally fine with that. I understand from the perspective of the developers that it's actually quite important for them to like make revenue and make money, and the way that they do that is selling ultimate characters, right? So they can't make it trivially easy. They need to do is find a way to not accelerate the pace at which we can acquire ultimate characters, but maximize the time that we're actually playing the game and that we're not sitting there staring at loading screens, because it's, in a lot of cases, the absolute most efficient way to get resources. And you kind of, because it's so efficient, you won't take a slightly less efficient method that allows you to play the game, because in a lot of cases, there's just no competition. So number 1, Sharon resets. Like, if someone in the office can find a way, like, okay, we're going to try and keep these ultimate characters the same pace to require them, but we're going to make it so people actually play the game instead of map hopping, that's money right there. So that's the number 1 biggest priority that they need to focus on. The second thing is polarity in the end game. So after you've invested quite a lot of crystallized catalysts into your character, you reach a point where you're like honing in on a few modules that you'll switch in and out. The issue with switching in and out of modules is that you're never really quite at a point where you've got all 12 module slots filled up. And the reason why is because polarity kind of pigeonholes you into having one specific module. Because in my case, like as a practical example, I will use a certain setup to speedrun infiltrations on Bunny. When I do bossing, I switch out that arrangement. The problem is when I switch out that arrangement, I don't have the appropriate polarity settings that will allow me to do both and then run more modules. So my character doesn't feel like it's ever at 100%. Because I'm missing those modules, right? Like I can't have them on certain builds, or like I have to say, okay, well, I'm just going to put Bunny on farming and then I'm going to do Colossus on other characters. Maybe the game designers like that, but from a player perspective, it feels really bad because it feels like I'm just not quite like I want to finish a character and I'm constantly in this umming and ahhing state of like, well, should I just put the catalyst on anyway and lose a little bit of efficiency on bosses so I can run infiltrations quicker, or the other way around? And I haven't come up with a solution yet, and I'm kind of like sitting here twiddling my thumbs, like trying to work out what to do. Thankfully, the genius that I am, I've come up with an elegant solution to this. Allow us to apply another crystallized catalyst to the same slot to add another type of polarity to that module slot, okay? I don't even mind if you want to make it like sort of more costly than that in some capacity, right? But I want the opportunity to spend time to invest in a specific character to say, hey, this character is finished and it cannot get any better, right? Because at the moment you can't do that. All you can do is say, this character is finished and it cannot get any better except at this specific type of content. So yeah, endgame polarity, being able to solve that would be really, really good. And the same thing with weapons as well. You can't switch out different types of elements on weapons, and so that kind of creates a rough environment because they all have different polarities associated with them. So Void Boss resources, number 3. Now, A lot of you might be thinking, I'm talking about void shards. No, I'm actually totally fine with how void shard farming works. I think people were complaining way too much about that. Get another character, farm void shards, you're done, okay? The problem that I have is that when you summon void bosses, they don't drop any resources whatsoever. Now, there are games where the concept of a strategic death exists, right? Scion in League of Legends is a really, really good example of that. So that the problem is, when I am fighting void bosses, I will regularly run out of ammo. And there is nowhere else for me to get ammo. So what do? I stand still and I allow the boss to dish out loads of damage. So I go down and then I respawn in with the ammo and MP in some instances, I'm sure, for certain characters, but mainly ammo. This feels really, really bad, right? Strategic deaths make sense elsewhere. It shouldn't be in this game. I think it's an oversight. I really, really hope it's an oversight. Give us some way of regenerating ammunition in this area. Make even if the void bosses drop full ammo on death, that would be okay for me. I can probably dish out enough damage, but I just don't want to stand there and wait 15 seconds and just get hit with hits for the sake of it. You know what I mean? It just doesn't feel like good gameplay. So that could be changed. Number 4, module capacity. So there are 500 modules in the game right now, and we currently have a total storage of about 1,000. As you progress through the game and you get like every single module, it becomes progressively more burdensome to manage all the extras, and you will eventually, regularly, be completely full up on modules, which will require you to put back to Albion and either use the kind of complicated and clunky interface to combine them in the hopes that you get the, shot focus, or B, delete them all in one big group. But even then you're kind of like, well, I'm going to unselect the red ones because I might want to combine those later to try and get something. And then you're like, well, I should unclick the purple ones as well. And so like that whole interface could really, really be changed. One really, really big thing that would make it so convenient, make it such that when I go to tag everything as junk to recycle it, that is specific to what is actually displayed on the screen. So if I select blue tier, for instance, it should only select all blue tier mods, but it doesn't do that. It selects all of them. And that means that every single time I want to quickly delete them, I have to go through and unclick the ones that I don't want it to do. Another issue is as well is like doing this is it breaks up the gameplay loop. If I am in a dungeon, an infiltration, if I'm in infiltration with someone and we're kind of getting into the vibe, we're kind of speed running it, it's going quickly, I don't want to turn around to this person and say, hey, I need to go back to Albion really quick and spend 5 minutes deleting all this stuff, right? That just doesn't feel good, either for them or for me, because I'm like taking time out of their day to do something of convenience for me, and I don't even want to do it in the first place. There have been several times where I have missed out on red module drops because I've been so invested in the farm, in repeating missions, in doing something over and over again, and I just don't want to leave. I don't want to leave that game state. I am fine if you want to sell module capacity as a way to make a little bit of extra money. Make it $5 for 1,000 modules. That's totally fine. I'm happy to do that. I'll treat it like stash tabs in Path of Exile, right? No pay to win, just a little bit of a quality of life benefit so that you don't have to constantly go back to Albion. That seems reasonable. It also seems important to fix this issue relatively soon, because apparently on August the 1st, you're going to be adding more modules. Now, even if you only add like a couple of dozen, that's now going to fill up like the baseline amount. And very soon we're going to have like 600 modules that you want to have at least one copy of. And so it's going to be even more tiresome and laborious to go through every single hour and get rid of the ones that you don't want and get the Kuiper from them. So that's number 4. Number 5 on my list, and perhaps not that huge, but character collision. So here is a massive, massive hot take for you. Valby Farm and Fortress doesn't feel good because of all the gold and Kuiper that you get, and the fact that it's like monumentally better than everything else. It feels good because you don't have character collision. Okay, maybe it is all the gold and the Kuiper and whatever, but the argument that I'm giving fits my narrative, so I'm going to stick with it conveniently. But if you've played Valby, it actually feels really good just to be able to like run through everything and not hit anything. I actually went and played around with Jaber for a little bit because I unlocked him just randomly. I managed to passively acquire him from farming other stuff. So I got Jaber, I went there just to get him to 40. I put down some of the turrets, and literally within 5 minutes, I wish I got a clip, within 5 minutes, someone asked me to stop putting turrets down because he was running into them and bumping into them. These turrets are like already completely useless, right? The stats that they give are like nowhere near good enough. The fact now that like the only real utility you get from them is just to like be a sort of sadistic individual that blocks off others, and you like get a little bit of pleasure from like petty griefing. That seems really bad for that character in particular. But elsewhere, like I'm cool with the idea of not removing enemy collision yet, but friendly collision like should absolutely be gone. That feels really, really bad. The game has already done really well with ensuring that like grouping up with other people and strangers and that type of thing doesn't make it difficult for you. Like it's very easy to integrate with other people, except with character collision. So if you could just iron out like that little tinsy eeny weeny bit, that would be great. So those are the 5 things, guys, that I think should be changed. Tell me what you think. These were the big ticket issues. They could all probably be fixed in a couple of weeks at most. Long-term stuff, like I say, design philosophy, that type of thing. We can talk about that later. But right now, this is what I want to see changed before August, right? Or on August 1st. This is the stuff I want to see in that patch, right? Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Comment, like, subscribe, donate. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Threads, whatever. Peace.